Five, four, three. Hi, everybody. Dugroz here with Dugroz Reports, reporting live from my house. Today is Saturday, January 27th, 2024. Welcome to Saturday Morning Live. I appreciate any of you that are on board or that will be joining in the near future. Today, as always, is an Ask Me Anything day in the world of points, miles, cashback, travel, etc., as well as a theme. Every Saturday has a theme that we'll discuss. The theme today is choice hotels. Choice hotels, Sleep Inn, Comfort Inn, Clarion, Cambria, that kind of stuff. Hi, Sam. Hello, They Hate Me. Hope you're both having a good morning this morning. We'll go ahead and dive into some announcements here. First of all, I have a technology update. Here we go. Ding! I have mood lighting. So should have just seen a little bluish green hue come on in the background there. I'm going to be doing a not complete, but a studio renovation of sorts. The records on the wall are intended to be a temporary background. Going to get a shelf, some artwork and stuff to go back there, scooch my desk forward to give a little more depth and make it a little nicer in the near future. If anybody watching live can let me know if the microphone is coming through loud and clear, I would appreciate that. It's always good to start out with just a affirmation that the audio is all squared away and ready to go. Cesar Joel is here. Happy to see you also in 2024. And yes, city and choice go together like hand in glove. So we'll be discussing that a little bit. Let's go ahead and get into a couple of data points, your Dugroz data points of the week. One data point is in the ongoing saga of my US Bank Altitude Reserve card, and particularly using it with mobile rewards on my cell phone. As you probably know, if you followed along, since January 1st, my US Bank Altitude Reserve has only been giving me 1 point per dollar on mobile wallet purchases, where it should give 3. That's what makes the card so valuable. I called US Bank. It's a known issue. Supposedly, it clearly doesn't affect everyone based on data points I've picked up, but it affects quite a few people. So my statement closed on January 9th or 10th, roughly. And then the statement produced or somewhere around the 13th. And at the time the statement produced, it said I had this many points I'd earned. And when I did the math, the points showed the incorrect earnings. And it was somewhere around 1,400 points that I'd earned in that particular cycle. Since that time, the points I've earned in that cycle increased with no apparent explanation to somewhere around 2,600 points. So somewhere since my cycle has closed, they have given me some extra points. Now, I thought maybe they had fixed their error and it had automatically done it, but 2 observations on that. One is it's still only showing 1x when I make the purchases. And 2, when I manually did the math, it didn't add up at all. It was like they kind of picked a random number. It was more points than it would have been if you were only fixing the problems on that statement close, but fewer points than it would be for all purchases that had posted as of that point since January 1st. So I'm not sure exactly what they're doing. Maybe they're trying to fix it. I'll give it a few more days and we'll see what happens, but random points appeared on my Altitude Reserve. If you have any data points to share about the Altitude Reserve, go ahead and put them over there in the comments. All right, Brian Clark and TH just told me I'm coming through loud and clear. Thank you for that. John McKinstry is here, and It's a Great Day 976 asks, how does complimentary upgrade work if you have diamond status? Is this confirmed when booking or only when checking in? I'm platinum thanks to the Choice credit card and considering going for diamond moving forward. I'll get into that a little bit later. Matt Clausen has arrived. Hey Matt, how you doing? You know, I forgot to share on the Discord the announcement of my live stream. So if you haven't done that yet, but you're willing to, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. I know you've done that in the past and it is greatly appreciated. Next data point. I'm going to talk a little bit about IHG hotels, and I'm going to cross my fingers and share my screen here that it doesn't slow down dramatically when I do so. I know in the past it's gotten a little laggy and I apologize for that. So what happens when I give this a try? All right, well, it's not ideal, but it's also not terrible. So let me open this up here. So this property right here is the IHG Intercontinental at the Wharf. Come on, computer, catch up. I've opened the file, but it's not opening on the screen. Oh, sorry about this, folks. Technology issues. Okay. I do not share this. I need to share the individual tab. We'll see. There it is. Okay, now you get to look at the picture. So this is the Washington, D.C. Intercontinental Hotel, part of IHG Hotels at the Wharf. And for our family vacation to Washington, D.C. this summer, we would like to stay there for the first 4 nights and take advantage of IHG's 4th night free. Now, there is a sale going on right now where you can buy IHG points for half a cent each. And in this case, that's well worth it. I think this property, the redemption value is something like 1.4 cents per point. So if I'm buying in at half cent each and redeeming at 1.4, I'm almost quadrupling. That was bad math. Almost tripling my value. So I went online and looked up how much they charge per night for the 4 nights I want, and I got the total, and I bought the right number of points to get that. Then when I went to make the booking, it turns out I still didn't have quite enough points. And the reason why is because I found out that IHG, when they if you search for 4 nights or more and you're logged in as a member, when they display the points per night, they're already taking that 4th night free into consideration. For example, let's say that it shows 25,000 points per night. My native instinct was to think to myself, oh, 2,000 points per night. So what that means is night 1, 25, night 2, 25, night 3, 25, and my 4th night's free. So I only need 75,000 per room per night. But what they're actually doing is showing you the 4th night free averaged in. So the real cost would be like 33,000, 33,000, 34,000, and 0. So you don't need 75,000 points. You need 100,000 points to make that booking. So I ended up purchasing the wrong number of points. I'm now 14,000 points short. And to get the full bonus, which gets you the half cent each, you have to buy at least, I think, 26,000 points. And I really don't want to. I've already made 2 purchases. So I'm going to see if I can do some buying and that kind of stuff between now and then on my spending, on my IHG card, hopefully come up with enough points. And I don't really want to go in and purchase more. If I really had to, I could always transfer points from Chase. I know it's a terrible value, 1-to-1, but if you just need to top off, say, the last 5,000 or 6,000 points, I don't mind doing that. Here's the view from the roof. They have a rooftop pool, and you can see the Jefferson Memorial and the Washington Monument there, and that looks pretty cool. This is not taking the place of my Desires to stay at Hilton. This would be the first 4 nights, and then the next 5 nights would be at Hilton. So if you compare a 4th night free with IHG with a 5th night free at Hilton, that makes for a pretty cool vacation. All right. Cesar Joel encourages you all to click thumbs up, and I agree with him. Matt has now shared that on the Discord. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Sam wants you to click thumbs up also. Matt says, at the Wharf must be a Warriors gathering. I'll see myself out. I don't get it, but I'm sure there's some inside joke I don't know about. Chad's Money's Minutes has arrived. Hi, Chad. How you doing? Just touched down in Atlanta. Jonathan Davis says good morning. Sam K says, don't rent a room for a bull. They charge a lot. Okay. Phil Mo's here. Brian Jackson's here. Thank you. Appreciate that. Star Trek. Oh, Worf, Star Trek. Wrinkly forehead. Okay. What other announcements or data points do I want to provide? This isn't really a data point, but just a mention. Next Saturday, I haven't decided if I'm doing a morning live stream or not, and it's a really good reason. I'm going to be on the Anthony Venture live YouTube show on that day, which is a week from today. I believe that's February 3rd in the afternoon. There would be enough time for me to do the my morning podcast and his because they're not the same time. But I'm just not sure if I want to commit to that much time online next week. So I might do a short one. But yeah, very excited to be going on with Anthony Venture. I think it's either 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock Central Time. He's in a different time zone, so we'll need to coordinate. But I'm sure there'll be a preview coming out, thumbnail, and I'll share that as soon as it's available. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate that. Just a brief mention, I do have memberships available. It's called a Dugroz Diehard. It's $3 a month. Gets you access to some content that most people don't get access to. I've probably got about 18 members-only videos so far. My most recent one was about manufactured spending. If you have any interest in manufactured spending and how to generate extra points that way, I don't do a lot, but I do a little. And that will always be behind the membership wall because that's a little too sensitive for YouTube in general. And it's pretty niche, so it wouldn't get a whole lot of follows. I do appreciate each and every one of you that has the little star by your name, such as Philmo and Sam and Matt Clausen and some others who are members. I really appreciate the Dugroz diehards. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into the content for this week, and I'll get to the community tab questions after that. So we're talking about choice hotels, and you might wonder what made me start thinking about choice hotels. And I'm going to tell a little story, so sit back and relax, children. It's story time with Papa Dugroz here. So I'm going to Virginia in April for a solo rip trip to Charlottesville. Going to see some historical Monticello, other presidents' homes, go over to West Virginia, look at some waterfalls, those kind of things. I had booked round trip with American Airlines using AA miles, got a Saver Award, just plain old main cabin, which is fine. And it was originally going to fly me through Charlotte Douglas Airport in North Carolina, both ways, there and back. It was originally leaving at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon from Iowa here in Des Moines. Layover in Charlotte was 2-3 hours. And I was arriving at like quarter till midnight, something like that. So I didn't want to take the time to rent a car, landing a little before midnight. So I got a hotel that was really close to the airport. There was an IHG property there. I started looking around and thought to myself, it's like 40,000 IHG points. I really want to save my IHG points for that summer vacation. Are there any other properties? There was a Comfort Inn nearby with no airport shuttle, and it looked kind of mid. So I was like, well, what other options do I have? Then American Airlines changed the flight schedule on me. Either they canceled the flight or something and set me up with a flight that actually left earlier. It left at like 2:30 in the afternoon and arrived later. This one arrived after midnight. So instead of having a 2 to 3 hour layover at Charlotte Douglas, it was wanting me to have a 6 hour layover, which was just ludicrous. So I'd had it on my to-do list. I finally got around to calling American this week. And they had the option where instead of waiting on hold, push a button, they'll call you back. I did that because the hold time was estimated at something like 55 minutes. And when I got them on the line, I just explained the return flight, there was a minor change. That's fine. But the flight that gets me to Charlottesville, Virginia, airport code CHO, is just not going to work for me. And the representative said, well, have you checked on any flights that you think will work for you? And I had. So that's a tip. If you're needing to change flights because the airline changed on you, have at least one, preferably two or three options ready to go to see if they can rebook you. And I was able to change to a different flight that left earlier in the day. I'm going to basically have to be gone all Friday, but that's okay. I already took the day off work. So at like 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm leaving. This time, my layover is at New York LaGuardia. And do you know what's at New York LaGuardia? Well, they just opened a Chase Sapphire Lounge. Even though I have the preferred, not the reserve, because I have priority pass through a couple other sources, you can get one visit per year. So I'm going to check out the Chase Reserve, Chase Sapphire Lounge, whatever it's called, in New York LaGuardia. Got about a 3-hour layover there on my way. But that means I'm no longer needing, I'll get there at like 5:30 in the afternoon. So I no longer have that concern about being too tired to get my rental car. I can get my rental car right away. I looked, the difference between getting it Friday afternoon and Saturday morning was only like an extra $30 or $40. So that's no problem. So I switched around my rental car stuff. And then I went looking for another hotel, canceled the IHG Staybridge Suites, and like, well, what other hotels are in the area? And I frequently start with a general search, like on Google or on hotels.com, something like that, just to see kind of what the options are and if I have currencies in any of them. And I came across a Choice Hotel. Normally I don't look at those, but I'm like, let's give them a shot. And that set me down a long rabbit trail. Got a couple people saying they look forward to seeing my Anthony Venture collaboration. And QC Man 2000 says, seems like you're getting over your cold from last week. Nice to see you. Yeah, last week I kept coughing. So far, I'm so good. I took a couple orange pills. Sam, I've got my tea here, my simulated tea. This is a kind of British looking kind of mug. So it's helping prevent my cough. Matt Clausen says the Sapphire Lounge is Terminal B. No need to change terminals. Awesome. TH says I should do double duty and visit the Sapphire and Centurion Lounge. By April, I probably won't have any Amex Platinum cards because I'm planning to cancel my business Platinum. Tempted to keep it around just for that purpose, but that would be a little silly. He said, QC Man says, might as well use the priority pass from a card you're going to cancel this year to get into the Sapphire Lounge and save the others. I hadn't thought of that because I have more than one. Good tip. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. So let's dive into Choice Hotels here and do some more screen sharing. Excuse me. Anytime I have to cough or snort, I hit the mute button. So I'm sorry if that makes some noises. All right. So let's talk about Choice Hotels and I guess what they are to start with. So here's the list of the Choice Hotels prior to their recent merger with Radisca's. Choice Hotels is known for a lot of the lower end hotels like Comfort Inn, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn, Econo Lodge, Roadway Inn. They do have some nicer properties like Ascend and Cambria too. After they merged with Radisson, they expanded their offerings a little bit. So we've got multiple kinds of Radissons. And then you'll also see they added Country Inn and Suites. Now, so these are their higher end hotels. These are all what they call mid-level, but mid-level is still variable. In my mind, and based on just a small amount of research, it seems like of this group, Sleep Inn is basic, but they tend to be newer and a little nicer, whereas like a lot of Quality Inns and Comfort Inns tend to be kind of old. Country Inn is like almost straddling the line here. It's like halfway between the mid-level and the high level. So when I was searching in the area around Charlottesville, Virginia, this is April 12th and 11th, one of the hotels that I came across was this Country Inn. And on hotels.com, first of all, this first price they always show you is before tax. So make sure you find the after-tax price. After tax, it was $604. I'm like, whoo, $604 for one room. That's a lot. And I looked around at lots of other hotels trying to figure out why They weren't all this expensive, but there was a lot in the upper 200s, low 300s, even for sort of what I would call entry level hotels. All I can figure is that the University of Virginia is in that town, and they had a girls' softball game that night. So I'm wondering if they're expecting lots of people to come to town for the softball game. Maybe that's why prices seem to be somewhat elevated. When I looked on Choice's own website, the exact same room, it was a one king bed, was $546 inclusive of tax. And two interesting observations about that. One is that's still a lot of money. And two, it is interesting, though, it's like $50 less than the hotels.com price. I had heard someone else mention recently, lots of hotels are trying to combat third-party portals by making their own prices more appealing than places like Expedia, hotels.com, those kind of things. Clairvoyant has arrived. Welcome on board. And Kiki Adventures, how you doing, Kiki? Says, woohoo, Choice Hotels. I just started watching a couple of your videos last week. Good stuff. So if I go to the the Choice Hotels app and look at the price, it's 20,000 points per night. And, instantly I think to myself, oh, well, as long as it's, at least $200, I'm getting a penny a point. So if I take Choice Direct and figure out the math, that comes out to 2.73 cents per point. And I'm like, really? I had always heard that Choice Hotels were not that valuable, like under a penny per point. So that kind of surprised me. That's on the Choice side of things. Now, bear in mind, Citi thank you points will transfer from Citi to Choice at a 1-to-2 ratio if you have the Citi Premier card. So I would only need 10,000 Citi points to book that. When you do the math there, that's 5.46 cents per point on the Citi side of things. I was like, that's really good. Now, long story short, I had some leftover Choice points, so I didn't need to transfer anything. Last summer, my family went to Sweden and got a really good value on a Clarion property there. I had transferred over 30,000 Citi points, which became 60,000 Choice points to get 2 rooms. But once we arrived, they didn't have our 2 rooms, so they gave us 1 room with some extra beds and refunded one of them. So I had 30,000 Choice points left over. I stayed at a cheap Radisson to go to one of my son's 9th grade football games and used just under 10,000. So I had just a little over 20,000 left. So this is actually perfect. By booking this, I not only used points that were stranded over at Choice, I actually got a good value on them. I'll catch up with the comments here briefly. John McKinstry has the cough this week. I had last week. TH says, Cambrias are really nice, often slept on. Mall of America has one. Yep, I saw that one. Radisson Blue is very nice and a fancy property. Sam says an RV coach is a hotel on reels. Clairvoyant says, good morning, credit card enthusiasts. Welcome, fellow points and miles enthusiasts. And Kiki Adventure thanks me for watching her channel. Philmo says, whenever the boys and I go to a hockey game, we usually start with Choice Hotels, not luxurious, but works for our needs. I agree with that. And what I'm tending to find is, for a lot of those one night here and there, it seems like they have decent stuff. Do make sure you check around that the ratings are decent. Now, on the previous screen, I had noted this is the Google reviews, a 4.4 average. And what I usually look for with Google reviews is not so much the difference between 4 and 5, because that doesn't really bother me. But I want to make sure the 1s and 2s are pretty low. So I want to see something like an inverted pyramid where it kind of goes like this. Lots of 1s and 2s, a lot less 3s, and then way a lot less 1s and 2s. There's always more 1s than 2s, it seems like, because people that have an average experience don't leave reviews. It's mostly people that have really good or really bad experiences. Cesar, I see your comment, and I'm going to come back to that. So this is what I ended up with and what I've booked. So my first night there in Virginia, I'm going to stay at this property. I'll report back in 3 months and let you know how it went. In fact, since that falls on a Saturday morning, there's a very good chance that I will be doing my Saturday morning live stream from that exact location. So here's just a few pictures of it. Like Filmo said, not luxurious, but looks solid. It actually looks like a little luxurious, not a lot, but it looks pretty nice. On the Google Maps images, the parking lot was still under construction. So I'm guessing the hotel is less than 5 years old since there hasn't been a Google Maps update that show it fully constructed. All right, now let's really get nerdy. You ready, Cesar, to talk about variable redemption prices? So earlier this week, I spent probably 2 hours just on the app, just looking at all kinds of different choice hotels. And I decided to look at places that I have been on my previous trips, only in the United States. I didn't look much overseas, actually not at all, other than Sweden. And I went to places that I think I might be going in the future. So this is personalized to me. Obviously, what you have might be different. A big limitation to choice that I don't like is that you can only do award bookings a maximum of 3 months out. So with this being the middle of January, February, March, April, I can only go through about the middle of April, a little beyond. So sometimes I tried to pick like an average Friday night or like a Monday into a Tuesday because I figure those are their busiest ones. Saturday going into Sunday seems to always be the cheapest. Probably because you don't have a lot of business travelers on a Saturday night. I tried to shoot for some like spring break. These are just averages. So I won't go into great detail, but I will give a brief mention. So I have done rip trips in St. Louis a couple times. There was a country in there for 20,000 points at 1.1 cent per point. And these are all on the choice side, not the city side. Arlington, Virginia, that's right across the Potomac River from Washington, D.C. So that's where I'm going this summer. There was a Clarion Suites for 16,000 points a night. That's 1.6 cents per point. Des Moines, Iowa, that's where I live. There's a Sleep Inn maybe 6 miles from me that was 1 cent per point. And I've actually been to that hotel. I know it personally. It's nice. It's solid. It's not fancy, but it's nice, solid, clean. Las Vegas, I was there with a few of you last Labor Day, Memorial Day, whichever one is in September. There is an M Resort. That's an Ascend property right at 1 cent per point. I did round off to the nearest decimal. So if you're thinking like, well, technically, Doug, that would be 0.96. I know I'm rounding. Wheeling, West Virginia, I've been there. I didn't stay at the Sleep Inn, but I found one for 1.4 cents per point. If you're going to the creator meetup this coming fall, maybe you'll stay at the Frenchman Orleans in New Orleans. That's a Ascend property, 30,000 points, 1.3 cents per point. Williamsburg, Virginia, I've been there. There's a country inn that looked fairly nice. I did look at all of these. These are places that I would stay. These aren't trash properties. 20,000 points, 1.2 cents per point. Last April, I went to Pensacola. There's a Quality Inn right on the beach. This one was a little more borderline. It's the kind where the rooms go directly out onto an exterior entrance. Regardless, it's right on the beautiful beach there. Low price, 1.3 cents per point. Now, these are my decent redemptions. This does not mean this is how they would all turn out. As Uncle Luke would say, just because the average is 1 cent per point or half a cent per point, that doesn't mean that's what you should use for your point values. So there were also some lousy redemptions. Hey, TH, you mentioned a Cambria in Minneapolis. The night that I looked, it was only getting 0.6 cents per point, even though it looked very nice. A different night at that M Resort Ascend I mentioned, Las Vegas. So I think the peak night of spring break, it was around 1 cent per point. But like a week before that, it was only 0.4 cents per point. College Park, Maryland had a Cambria for zero point 0.8 cents per point. And I decided to use one clunker example. I've been to Pittsburgh before. There's an Econo Lodge not too far from the airport, zero point 0.5 cents per point. We have a commercial coming up, so let's take an intermission and get back with each other in 1 minute. See you in a bit. Thank you to everyone who stayed through the break. I'm back. So, if you just joined in, we had an intermission and we were talking about Choice Hotel, trying to figure out my personal research on cent per point averages. These are the decent ones, which are all up above 1 cent per point. These are the lousy ones, which are down around half a cent per point or slightly more. There were also a whole bunch in the middle, so that 0.8, 0.9 cents per point range was very common. Now, other than the Econo Lodge in Pittsburgh, which I picked out as kind of a clunker on purpose, these are all properties that I would actually want to stay at. So I wasn't looking at like your average roadway in Ogallala, Nebraska. I wasn't looking at your Quality Inn on some random interstate exit in northern Oklahoma because you're road tripping. Nothing wrong with those, but the quality is very variable. So always check Google reviews to see how they are. I've seen some, Quality Inns and Clarions that are like 4.7 stars and the staff is wonderful. I've seen some that average like 2 stars. They're like ants and mice, and everyone who works there is a complete jerk. So a lot of variability, and you got to do your research. But moving on here. So if we're going to cherry pick value and we use that first list I made, the decent price list, I'm okay with doing that because Luke from Luke's Points and Miles has said before, sometimes we're accused of cherry picking. Of course we're going to cherry pick. We don't want to just randomly choose a hotel. There's a Quality Inn in my hometown, Ottumwa, Iowa, that's terrible. I stayed there before. I'm not going to pick that one. So if that gets 0.4 cents per point, I'm going to exclude that one from my list. But I don't think this was extreme cherry picking because I think if you got middle of summer, 4th of July weekend, Christmas weekend, you would find higher cents per point. I was limited to just searching the next 3 months. It does seem like Choice has something of an inelastic award chart, and I don't know if you would even call it an award chart because prices do vary. But like that M Ascend hotel that I said I found in Las Vegas, on the peak day of spring break, it was like $400 and some dollars, but the price was whatever, 40,000 points. a week earlier, the cash price was only 150 bucks, but the award price was still 40,000 points. So it seems like choice would be good if you're going on like a holiday weekend or a busy time, or like when there's a sporting event in town, like what I found in Virginia. Anyway, so if we're taking those cherry picked values and using those 8 hotels, that averaged out to 1.24 cents per point. And I'm going to round that off to 1.25. It was actually like 1.243, but the math is a whole lot easier if we do 1.25. So thanks for letting me do that. I appreciate it. How do other people value these points? Well, the points guy says 0.6 cents per point, and Frequent Miler says 0.68 cents per point. And that seems like that's probably about right if you're not cherry picking. If you just take every single choice hotel property in the United States, throw it in a basket, figure out the average cash price and do the math, that probably is what it comes out to. But we're better than that. We are points and miles enthusiasts, doggone it. We're going to figure out the good values. So I'm comfortable using the 1.25 cents per point for the time being. If you're wondering what the purchase price is, when there's not a sale, you can buy into your choice points at almost a... Sorry about that. Sneeze came on in the middle of the sentence. You can buy in at a penny a point, or 0.99 cents per point. All right, I'll try to catch up with the comments here. Kiki says, I love how you evaluate property reviews. Thank you. Cesar says, hard to beat City with the multipliers. Foreshadowing. It's a Great Day says, I looked at that exact hotel for upcoming trips, but trying to book a suite on points has been tough. Kiki says, ready. TH says, great work on the research. And Cesar says, I found some great redemptions with Cambria and Ascend properties. Thank you, everyone. I'll put the celebration heart into effect here, whatever that does. All right. Well, good foreshadowing, Cesar. Let's think about how this works in conjunction with the City ecosystem. But remember, City transfers 1 to 2 over to Choice. So if Choice averages 1.25 cents per point, then City averages 1.5 cents per point if you are only using it for Choice hotels. Now, the City cards then produce this cashback equivalent. So I take the modifier times 2, because it's a 1 to 2 transfer ratio, times the 1.25% to get the CBE. CBE is cashback equivalent. In other words, what would it be equivalent to if you just used cashback to pay for it, cashback rewards? Your double cash with 2x and everything would become a 5% cashback equivalent. Your City Premier with 3x on gas, paid travel, grocery stores, and dining would become 7.5% cashback equivalent. And your City Custom Cash on your one choice, which you could use for gas or drugstores or grocery or whatever, would become 12.5% cashback equivalent. That's not too shabby. If you have the City Rewards Plus card on top of that, which gives you 10% points back up to 100,000 points per year, that's like an extra 0.1. Now, it's not a 0.1 on the cashback equivalent. It's a 0.1 on the City side. So the math's a little trickier. And I didn't do that because not everyone has that card, but it'd be even better if you had the City Rewards Plus card. How about the proprietary Choice Hotels card? These cards are issued by Wells Fargo, and right now we don't know who Wells Fargo is going to have for transfer partners, so I'm a little hesitant to jump into these. If Wells Fargo ends up transferring 1 to 2 to City, 1 to 2 to Choice, that's going to be a game changer because you have like the no annual fee autograph card, getting 3 points per dollar on a lot of things, and then transferring 1 to 2. Ooh, look out, City Premier, if that were to happen. So they have 2 different credit cards that Wells Fargo issues that are the Choice Hotels cards. You have the Privileges MasterCard and the Select MasterCard. I wish they were both the orange color because I think there's not enough brightly colored credit cards. There's too many dark cards. Current sign-up bonus, this is just the normal bonus as far as I'm aware. 40,000 points after $1,000 in spend. Over here, we've got 60,000 points after $3,000 of spend. The hotels that I was liking tended to be in the 20 to 30,000 point range. So the sign-up bonus here would be enough for 2 or 3 nights. What do they earn? Well, the cheapo no annual fee card gets 3x on gas, grocery, home improvement, and phone providers. The select card gets 5x on gas, grocery, home improvement, and phone plans. Keep in mind that since the City Premier card transfers 1 to 2, effectively on the City Premier, if you have both cards, you're getting 6x on gas, thinking choice points, and grocery stores. I don't believe they have home improvement as a category, so you could get that on your custom cash, but not on your City Premier. So if you're doing a lot of home improvement, that might be worth it. Phone plans, that would be a good one. Don't use it as your everything else card because that's only 1x. That would be a bad choice. One feature I really like is that on the select card, you get 30,000 bonus points every anniversary night. I actually like this better than a free night certificate, especially for choice, because I don't know that it would ever be my number one program. That would probably still be something like Hilton. Maybe you're a Marriott person, maybe you're a Hyatt person. But I think for a number 2, or, let's say IHG is 2A, choice is 2B, I like that because there might be a year, let's say in 2025, I don't stay at a single choice property the entire year, or I stay at a cheapo beepo one where I just pay cash. I can just roll that into the next year and just keep my points. If anybody can back me up on this, I will apologize that I don't know. It would be appreciated. I'm pretty sure choice points only expire if you have no activity. So if you earn any points at all, they just renew forever. Let me know if that's correct. You get automatic platinum status and 20 nights elite credit. Not sure what that's worth. We'll come back to that in a little bit here. Cell phone protection. Now, this is interesting. You get up to $800 of cell phone protection when you pay your bill every month, subject to a $25 deductible. That's a good pairing since cell phone providers is one of the categories, and you get cell phone protection. I would be willing to use it for that. Catching up on comments here. Let's see. Kiki says, love this, and you need a rewards plus so you get 10% back. Already got it. They won't approve me for the double cash, but I have I have 3/4 of the City Quartet. Sam says City does a double points too, double cash. Yep, that's the one I can't get approved for, which is weird. I got approved for the others. I think it's just a velocity thing. Cesar says, that's the reason I'm Team Choice and Team City in 2024. Plus, I was able to status match from Hilton Diamond to Choice Platinum. Kiki asks, when did the 90K offer end? I'm not sure. Maybe that's a targeted offer. This was on the Wells Fargo website just last night. QC Man 2000 is here. Hello. Says, I think even if you just have a double cash and no Premier Choice is one of the limited transfer partners you can use, it's still over 1-to-1, but not 1-to-2. Yes, that is correct. So Citi has a few transfer partners that are like junior transfer partners. And I looked that up a week or two ago. It was actually 1.5. So if you don't have the Premier, you can still transfer from Citi to Choice at a 1.5. John McKinstry, another Dugroz diehard, thank you for your membership, says, I think that Choice privileges are underrated, but I'm thinking about getting it eventually because I sometimes stay at Choice hotels. TH says, thinks the promo ended about a month ago. All right, let's see what I've got next here. Well, I'm back to the beginning. Got a couple other things I need to take a look at or open here, if you'll bear with me just a moment. Sorry, folks. I thought I had an image right where I could find it quickly and easily, but apparently I don't. Oh, shoot. Looks like I didn't save it. All right, I'm going to have to do a quick web search here. What I was going to look for is the different status tiers that Choice has. And then we'll get into those community tab posts, I promise, a little later. Choice. Elite levels. And this is going to be probably a not doctor of credit, a points guy article. Choice does a terrible job of going over their status levels on their own website. Say what you will about points guy. Pros, cons, I realize that. I realize it's a for-profit enterprise that tends to push certain things, but they do generally have information. Just waiting for it to load here. All right, back to sharing my screen. Sorry, I know it's a little laggy. We'll get that fixed one of these days. Cleared out a bunch of memory on my computer last night, hoping that would fix it completely. It helped a little, but not entirely. All right, so if you're a Choice Privileges member, you just get, sort of the generic benefits. It does say you can redeem for your extras Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. That includes points, airline miles, or choice of gift cards. If I remember correctly, that's a little teeny tiny benefit. When you get to the gold level, you get 10% bonus points, up to 9 elite rollover nights, a welcome gift, early check-in and late checkout when available. Available is key. Elite reserve parking when available, and a customer hotline. Now, to me, the bonus points are kind of pointless because I'm probably not going to be doing a whole lot of cash stays at Choice Hotels. Like I said, it's sort of my secondary or tertiary property. So, I'm going to be using it when the points are right. So to me, the bonus almost doesn't matter. Hey, Jesus has arrived and dropped a $4 super chat. I really appreciate that. Shows a little cup of coffee, so I'm assuming you're wanting me to get one. Thank you so much. I will briefly mention, if you aren't aware, now that I have membership enabled, I also have super chats and super thanks. So if you want to drop me $2 or $3 or $4, you can do that. And that helps inspire me to do this advanced research. I probably spent 3 or 4 hours on it, and I didn't really tidy it up. I did most of this research yesterday. I might actually make an extended video on Choice and just trying to get into lots of different details. If you're watching this live or after the fact, put a comment down below and let me know if you'd be interested in a full-blown, like half-hour video dedicated just to Choice Hotels. Anyway, so yeah, I don't see a ton of benefit here because of the at participating and when available lines. To me, if it says when available, it's almost pointless. If you get the platinum level, that's the level that comes with their better credit card. You get the same plus more bonus points. Who cares? More rollover nights. Again, almost who cares? And Avis Preferred Plus, meh, that's something. And then if you get up to Choice Privileges Diamond, it says 50% bonus points and 39 elite rollover nights. Cesar, you had asked earlier, or somebody asked, how do you get the guaranteed upgrades? All I can say is that, at least from what I was able to find in like a quick 10-minute look, there is no guaranteed upgrades. It's always when available, even if you get diamond status. Now, Kiki or somebody else that's into Choice Hotels or knows more about it, please correct me if I'm wrong. If there is some way you can get to a guaranteed upgrade level, as opposed to just when available. I just don't have a lot of faith in the when available. So I don't think Choice is a program that you get because you want your elite status recognized. If I go to a Clarion and they happen to recognize my status and give me more than a free water bottle or a free snack and give me an upgrade or a late checkout, that's awesome. But I've also read enough comments where, some of the motels where I'm looking at the comments with IHG, unfortunately, it'll say I asked for a late checkout and they wouldn't give me one. And they said, there's no rooms available. And then I looked at their website and they had a truckload of rooms available the next day. So I don't know what to think. When I was in Chicago, the first week of this month, I stayed at an Embassy Suites and I asked for a late checkout, and I'm a gold member and they wouldn't give me one. I think they said If you need an extra 30 minutes, we'll just kind of look the other way. But when I asked for a full hour, they said no. They said there's just too many rooms that we need to fill, which was weird because I went on hotels.com after I checked out and there was still like 9 of the exact room type I had available. So I'm not sure, did somebody call and say, I really want room 232? I don't know. John says, I would be interested in a more in-depth Choice Hotel video. Cesar said, there's no guaranteed upgrades, but if I ask every time, I have great success. Awesome. Good to know. So you are welcome to ask about Choice Hotels in the comments, but I am done with my canned comment on Choice Hotels. Thank you for listening in. Todd Trimble is here. Welcome, Todd. Also interested in a video. All right, well, let me get over to the community tab questions here. First up, our main man, Cesar Joel, asked this question. What's your favorite high yield savings account or bank account and why? Keep up the great work, Doug. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that. Right now, I use Charles Schwab for everything. Now, I realize what I'm going to say is technically not a high yield savings account. So about a year ago, I opened a Charles Schwab account and I have 2 different accounts with them. One is my travel savings account. So anytime I earn cash back rewards of any kind, it goes in there. And big spend bonuses, sign up bonuses paid in cash, those kind of things. And then that funds my travel, that funds my annual fee. Many of you know I have a personal rule that the credit card game must pay for itself. So I pay for my annual fees out of that savings account. I also have a second account that I call a income account. And this is basically if I have excess cash flow. And what I mean by that is I have had times in the past where I have expenses that I want to put on a 0% interest credit card. An example is like, my kids had to buy band instruments. My son had braces, so I put it on a 0% interest credit card. And let's say, for example, I need $6,000, but they gave me a $10,000 credit limit. I will then just buy things I would normally buy, shift my budget around, and that excess $4,000 I'll put in my income account. Well, right now, with interest rates being north of 5%, why pay off that extra $4,000 immediately? Let it sit there and collect some interest. Same thing with my parents. So you might know my parents live in assisted living and it costs more than $6,000 a month. So every month I pay their assisted living bill. They write me a check and it goes on whatever credit card I need it to work on for a big spend bonus, a sign-up bonus, whatever. Like right now I'm working on a sign-up bonus for my American Express business gold card. So it just happened to work out that there she is, looking rather beautiful. The charge went on the card like a day or 2 after the statement close date. So I have, until next month plus the $25 grace period. I've got almost like 6 or 7 weeks that I have to pay that off. Am I going to pay them off right away? Shoot, no. I'm going to tuck that $6,000 in my income account, let it earn interest. Now, I say interest. Technically, with Charles Schwab, there's a checking account, and that only makes like 0.7% interest, but then you move it into either the income account or the travel savings account. Those are brokerage accounts. And what I'm doing is buying money market mutual funds. So Charles Schwab has like a mainline money market mutual fund. I think it's SWVXX or something. So I basically just buy into that whenever I need to. There's no cost to trade. You can sell or buy any day the market's open. Now, I realize, I'll give my disclaimer here. I am not a financial advisor. Do your own research because technically a money market mutual fund is an investment. Technically, it can lose value, but I don't have any concern about that myself right now. And it only trades when the market's open. So if you had an emergency, you need to pull money out the exact same day, you wouldn't be able to. You have to wait till the close of business 3 o'clock Central Time when the stock market closes for it to settle, and then you can transfer out the next day. So you have to plan ahead at least a full business day, but that works well for me. So Charles Schwab is my bank of choice for that kind of stuff right now. As an added bonus, they in their checking account, like if I know I'm going to travel, I'll just move a couple $100 from the brokerage account into the checking account, and their ATM card doesn't charge foreign fees on foreign ATMs. They also don't charge any fees for non-proprietary ATMs. So, let's say that I go to Sweden and withdraw their equivalent of $20 and they charge me a $7 fee. I'm getting that $7 fee back. Next question here on the community tab is from TH. I saw earlier. Welcome aboard. If you were offered the IHG 40K certificate or the Marriott 35K certificate, which one is more valuable in general, do you think? Keep up the good work, Doug. Thank you for your kind words, TH. Appreciate that. And I'm going to be very honest. That's a difficult question for me to answer. I don't know a lot about Marriott's. Probably on paper, the Marriott certificate is better, but if it was me, I would choose the IHG certificate. I just don't do Marriott at all. And I've not done that for a couple reasons. This is admittedly low-level research, and if there are Marriott loyalists who want to dive in and defend Marriott, by all means, feel free to. I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm right. But the small amount of research I've done, especially when I got into the game, I just decided I don't travel enough to get into every single program. And with Marriott, first of all, they always talk about getting bond void, and people getting screwed and those kind of things. And that kind of turned me off. Secondly, from what I have heard, and a couple different sources have mentioned that, and if I accidentally misportray them, I apologize. Anthony Venture interviewed a young man who's like 24 years old named Sean something, Shaun, who travels a whole bunch and has stayed at like every hotel and has status with every single program, and says Marriott is the program where you just want to do a lot of cash stays and build up a lot of status. And then Stan the Credit Frog has also made a few comments I've kind of picked up on, like he loves Marriott, but he stays at a lot of Marriott. So putting the piece of the puzzle together, I feel like Marriott, you're either all in or not in at all. If you just go to like 1 or 2 Marriotts a year, it's really not a program that's going to benefit you a lot. So I would choose the IHG 40K certificate because I know I'm going to use it. IHG is sort of my number 2 program. So if you force me to rank right now, I'd say Hilton's my number 1, IHG's number 2, 2A, 2B would be Choice maybe. Hyatt's in the mix. I don't pursue any kind of status with Hyatt, but obviously I have Chase cards, so I find good value there, especially for just one-off stays, like if I need to stay at a Hyatt Place for 5,000 points or something like that. Over here in the comments we have right now, QC Man says, the only time I carry a balance for a long period is with 2% APR, especially on a business card. Yep. Put the money in a HYSA and repay it soon before the period ends. Yeah, I agree with that. Pay the minimum every month, of course. That's what I was saying. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just some guy on the internet. Matt Clausen says, Marriott has the flexibility to add points to top up, but it's less than ideal. IHG lets you top up points too, is my understanding. Cesar said, I have a hard time finding good value with Marriott certificates, even 50K certificates. I also find it extremely difficult to find good value with Marriott at all. That's been my limited experience as well. Matt Clausen clarifies the Sean that I'm thinking of is Sean Lane. That is correct. I'm going to add just a little bonus content here that nobody asked. Sean Lane said that he went to the Maldives and used like a Hilton certificate there, which is awesome because the Maldives is a place a lot of people say they want to go. I'm going to make a proposal to the points and miles community. Can we please stop using the Maldives as the example of where to use your free night certificates? Yes, it's hypothetically possible to use your free night certificate, let's say with Hilton in the Maldives. What are you going to do for the rest of your vacation? Some people are going to get an advertisement in 5 seconds, and I apologize if that's the case. Because what Sean said supported what I'm thinking all along. The rest of your Hilton stay is going to be like 700,000 to 1,000,000 points per night or something like that. So how are you affording the rest of your trip? The seaplane transfer alone is $1,500. Every single meal you're spending close to $100 per person. Some people do it, but I watched this other YouTuber who I won't say a name. I can't remember his name right now. Who's like, for example, let's say I use my Hilton free night certificate at the Maldives. That's a value of a jillion cents per point, and it would have cost me $1,500 a night. It's like, yeah, you're not going there. Okay. Sean went there. What are you gonna do with your kids? It's just the most ludicrous example. There's lots of other aspirational examples you can use. Maybe you're going to London, maybe you're going to Paris, the French Riviera, maybe you're going to Hawaii. Use examples that are still aspirational, but that you probably might actually do. Anyway, if you've been to the Maldives, let me know if I'm out of line. But I'm like, stop making that the example. Like, it works for like 1 out of 100 people for their honeymoon, and that's it. I didn't get into points and miles. I'd already been married for 15 to 20 years. TH says, without higher status, Marriott's not worth it. They're too big to care. Kiki says, thank you, LOL Maldives. QC Man says, I honestly think some of these guys get a check from the Maldives Ministry of Tourism. I'm sure it's awesome, but is it that much better than other tropical places? TH says, unless you have 5 free night certificates, no Maldives, who in the world is going to go for one night? Yeah, exactly. First of all, you're going to use a bunch of points to get there. And let's say you have enough points to cover, all of your airfare, and it's all in business class. You're still dropping $1,500 on seaplane transfers. You're dropping $100 a night on food, and it's an island. You're not going to go, if you want to go to the main island to eat cheaper food, you're paying someone to take you on a boat or a small plane. If you want to go snorkeling, he said like the cheapest is $75 a person. Waldorf Park City is a great certificate redemption. I2, I'm not sure what that means. Maybe a misprint. But I always use 210,000 points for 2 more nights. Is that Park City, Utah? Oh, yeah. Waldorf Park City, Utah. Thanks, Cesar. So, yeah, TH to the point, I would pick the IHG certificate just because it works better for me. Matt Clausen says, if and when Built adds mortgages, how excited will you be? I will be very excited, Matt, because right now I just pay my mortgage through my online bill pay with my bank. I don't get any points at all on my mortgage. So if they give that example, I will use it. That would be awesome. TH says, thank you for saying that. It doesn't have to be Bora Bora or the Maldives all the time. I felt like when I went to London, and used my Hilton points there, it was 70,000 points per room per night. If I had used a free night certificate at 70,000 points, that would have been okay. That still would have been a good redemption. That was, somewhere around $690, $750 a night. That would be a good use of an FMC. I don't see anything wrong with that. You know what the worst use of a free night certificate is? Forgetting to use it and getting no value. All right, so I also almost always put a picture with my community posts, and you can guess where the picture is. So I will quickly load that up so you can take a quick look at the picture. There it is. So we had a couple different people guessing where we went. Ali guessed Milwaukee. There's some sort of domed botanical center. That's a good guess. Matt Clausen says a zoo and is right. Engineer. A fellow Iowan says the Omaha Zoo. TH said the Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha. So congratulations to TH and engineer. You guessed the location correctly. That picture is the zoo in Omaha. I think this picture is from 2018 or 2019. It might be smaller at that time, but I look pretty young. All right. Oh, Kiki thought it might have been in the Maldives. Oh, really close. TH says, that's why we like this channel, just the everyday Joe perspective. Keep up this thought. I appreciate that. All right, so I'll give just a couple more minutes here. We've crossed the 1 hour mark. So if you haven't clicked the thumbs up button yet, go ahead and do that. I'd really appreciate it. If you have any consideration for becoming a member, I'd appreciate that. If you have any consideration for dropping a super chat or super thanks and tell me that you want me to make X, I will not guarantee it, but I will certainly give strong consideration to it. Let me check my list here and make sure that I've checked off all the boxes. I talked about my American Airlines story. I talked about IHG, talked about the Altitude Reserve, the Venture Podcast. I went over Choice Hotels. I think we've just about nailed it. Sam K says, some people manage to live on cruise ship for almost a never-ending holiday or vacation. I've heard about that. In fact, I've seen, first of all, I'm not into cruising, but I know some people are, and you can do the matches and those sorts of things. Oh, that gave me an idea. Thanks, Sam. I'm going to write down Wyndham and come back to that. Some people use like their Wyndham card to match to Caesars, to match to statuses when they get a bunch of free cruises and those kind of things. I think I also saw like a story about a retired woman who decided to live in a Holiday Inn Express or something like that because she thought it was cheaper than living in like an independent living home. Kiki says, thank you. Says smiley face. Sam says, thank you for the live stream. I appreciate that, Sam. So my one last thought that I wrote down, I have the Wyndham Earner business card, and I've never done this yet, but I know you can match over to Caesars status. And when you get status with Caesars, I think it's Diamond, whatever status that aligns with, you get a variety of free benefits. I'm not really interested in the free cruising. I'm not a gambler, so I'm not interested in the gambling, $20 in free chips or whatever. But I have heard they have this thing called a celebration dinner where you get like a free meal up to $100, and it's sort of like a use it or lose it. You don't get credit to take with you. If any of you know, can you get that celebration dinner at any Caesars property in America, or is it only the big ones like in Atlantic City, Vegas, of course, and some of the other big time resorts? Kiki says, yes, it's Diamond with Caesars. Strangely enough, I went on the Caesars website. I live in central Iowa, and it, list all the Caesars location by state. Caesars is not in every state. In fact, they're in less than half the states. I'd say 15 to 20. Iowa was one of them. So who knew Iowa has 3 Caesars locations? There's one, none of them are in central Iowa, but there's one in the Quad Cities, which is like the eastern edge of the state, right where it meets Illinois, maybe Bettendorf, something like that. One is on the opposite edge of the state, Council Bluffs, which is just across the river from Omaha, so all the Omaha people can go gamble there. And then there's a third one in Waterloo, which is sort of a kind of slightly rundown industrial town, about 2 hours north and east of where I live. My wife's grandma, who's in her 90s, lives in Waterloo. So I'm like, can I go to Waterloo next time we visit great grandma and get my celebration dinner? That would be pretty cool. No, Matt, not all 3 are on I-80. The first, the second one are right off I-80, the Quad Cities and the Omaha one, but Waterloo would be a little bit north of there. You'd have to go about 45 minutes out of your way. Thank you for being a diehard, Matt. I appreciate it. Kiki says yes to Atlantic City and Vegas for the celebration dinner. Maybe I'll just have to experiment. If I don't get my celebration dinner between now and September 1st, then I'm trying to think, when does Labor Day fall? I think it's right at the end of August or early September. Looking at my calendar here. The creator meetup is then. So probably Saturday, August 31st is when the creator meetup in New Orleans is. I have nothing to do with organizing it, but doggone it, I'm going to be there barring major sickness or something like that. I can maybe use it there because there's a couple Caesars properties that are pretty big time in New Orleans. Kiki says, negative, only the big places do the celebration dinner. Shucks. Okay. That's kind of what I thought based on some data points I was seeing, but the data points were all third party. They weren't from Caesars themselves. So I've got a reminder in my iPhone to match over to Caesars, and I need to do that sooner rather than later since January, February is kind of a down travel month that won't hit me in the middle of a cycle or anything like that. So that sounds like a good way to do it. One last time, click the thumbs up button if you haven't done it already. Drop a super chat if you want to give me a thanks at the last second. I appreciate each and every one of you. I especially appreciate the channel members. I might start putting channel members' names at the end of videos because I've noticed almost no one watches the end of the video. Like the second you say, thanks for watching, they tune out. In fact, some of you are probably doing that now. But if you haven't tuned out, I will show my appreciation with one last piece of wisdom, and that is, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.